Hello and welcome to Different. And on what day of the week is this?
It's a Thursday.
It is a Thursday, and I want the date. What date is it?
28th.
28th. It is the 28th of June, and I'm here with two great guests, Sean and Zoe. And why don't y'all go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Sean. I'm 23, and I run...
Closer to the mic, buddy.
I'm Sean. I'm 23, and I run a transgendered young adults group.
I'm Zoe. I'm also 23, and I'm a male to female transsexual who has been transitioning for almost a year now. So just trying to live life.
All right. And Sean, tell us about transmigration. What's that about?
Transmigration is a social group for young adults between the ages of 17 and 29, providing a healthy social circle where you don't always have to talk about your transition or always have to talk about surgery, or you're not counseling, you're just having fun. You don't have to talk about that. You can talk about who your favorite superhero is or what's your favorite sci-fi. We get a lot of that. I think our last getting to know question was, if you were a superhero, what would you be?
I have yet to meet a young trans person, myself included, that is not a nerd in some sort of way.
I think it's the new generation, actually,
Yeah.
not just the trans people. I mean, I think trans people tend to be more prone to video games, especially computer ones, or being online, because online you can be whatever gender you want to be, and nobody has to know. Like, you know, they don't see you in person, so they don't see the physical sex, so to speak. So you can be whatever gender you want. It's the first chance you get to play out is online. But honestly, the new generation is just nerdy. Anime, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Magic cards. These are things that I'm not even nerd enough to understand, and I think chess is a sport. So
Zoe, what do you enjoy about transmigration?
I enjoyed it because it was...
Closer to the mic.
I enjoyed it because it was the first time I had the chance to go out and meet other people my same age who were going through the same thing I am, and just meet new friends because I'm new to the area. So
Okay.
it's been a really good social thing for me more than anything.
Yeah, it's been a great social thing for me as well. Like, I love it, and I love meeting different people that are somewhat like me and somewhat different, and it's a great social aspect. And it's not a support group per se. It's more of a let's go hang out and have fun, and we just happen to be trans or trans friendly.
we are definitely defined as a social group. We never really use the word support group, although we can provide support by being socially friendly to one another.
Right.
That is very healthy, having friends that can understand what you're going through. And myself being 3 years on testosterone, most people would not have guessed that, that I'm trans, and I kind of forgot to mention it when I was introducing myself.
No.
You know, I meet a lot of younger guys who are even guys older than me that are just barely starting on testosterone, and having someone who's also going through or has been through what you're going through, just as a usual friend, not even having to talk about the actual hormone process or the growing a beard, but basically like, dude, Superman rocks, or you know, anything. Doctor Who. Did you see the Doctor Who episode? You know, it's healthy. It's hard when you walk around the world and there aren't people who look at you like a normal person.
Yeah. Why'd you create the group?
Well, initially, I was a member of Youth First Texas. Youth First Texas was the place where I went, which is the younger, not trans group, but GLBT youth group in Dallas, one of the biggest ones.
I think it's like the only one.
Actually, there's one in Austin.
Oh, really?
One of the biggest ones in Texas.
Yeah.
The only one in Dallas that I know of. There's a spinoff in Plano.
In Collin County. Yeah.
Actually, I hear there's something going on in Fort Worth, which is brilliant.
Oh, that's great.
But I don't think they've really lifted off. But Youth First Texas is the one that helped me get off my feet, got me my GED.
Wait. Youth First Texas helped you get what?
My GED.
Want to explain what a GED is? The
High
school thing. Right?
General education degree. I was not allowed to go to school because my parents were religious fanatics, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
I was able to get my diploma after only having a fourth grade education because Youth First Texas helped me study for it.
Yeah, and GED is it's like a high school diploma for those who weren't able to go to high school or dropped out or for whatever reason.
Right.
So, yeah.
what is it, the equivalency.
Yeah, it's the same thing almost.
But the problem with You First Texas is that I realized that in a few years, I would be growing out, and there wouldn't really be a place to go for me to socialize with people like myself. And yeah, it kind of started out kind of selfish. It was kind of like, and I'll admit, kind of funny in a way. I didn't want to be alone, but I also figured that other people didn't want to be alone either. And since the aging out there is 23, I decided that I was going to start a trans group, and I started it when I was in about 20. Transmigration started meeting like once a month, and then it moved to once a week, and then eventually, here we are meeting at the Dallas Resource Center every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. to 10:30, having a blast, and it can be anywhere from like 2 people to 20. I'm very proud that it worked out that way, that, after you turn 23, or if you just don't feel like You First Texas, maybe, too many young people there for you, you can come here too. We have a few people, including yourself, that overlap with both You First
Yeah,
Texas.
because I'm how old am I? I'm 20.
Yeah,
so
you still have 3 years.
Yeah, so I'm young enough for Youth First and old enough for transmigration.
In fact, Aunt Melanie is when you're
Ooh, Aunt Melanie was my first guest in the history of this little show called Different.
She's actually the person I consider to be my mother, and she will tell you about the 13-hour labor, so to speak, that she had with me. And she's basically a big part of my life and responsible for who I became. And now I actually consider her part of the reason why transmigration exists today, in a weird way. Inspired me.
And it is Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is Thursday, of course.
We will be meeting up at the Resource Center at 8:30 to introduce ourselves and talk, and then at 9 o'clock everybody will be going to, apparently Sharon Needles is showing up at S4.
And who is Sharon Needles?
From what I'm told, because I'm not really a big fan of drag, but
Neither am I.
Like
but some people love it.
Well, transmigration, everything we do, everybody votes on. So
right.
everybody wanted to go see Sharon Needles, who apparently is the winner of the RuPaul's Drag Race this year.
RuPaul winner? Oh.
Yeah, she won the RuPaul's Drag Race or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know the details.
There's like so many RuPaul's Drag Race. There's like a RuPaul Drag U, and there's like a RuPaul Drag Race.
There's more than one RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
there's several different versions and spin-offs.
Oh, wow. Well,
I forget all what the difference is between them all, but
Sharon Needles will be there, and we'll be going to see Sharon Needles, and
that should be interesting.
Oh God, yeah. Unfortunately, it's an 18 and up event that one time because
right, because the S4 is 18 and up.
Yeah, so.
However, it's nice that it is 18 and up instead of like 21.
Right.
And up.
We try to avoid any 21 and up
Yeah.
events. Most of the time, our events, if we go out, they're 17 and up. But every once in a while, like S4, we can't change their age rules, so we just tiptoe around it.
Right.
21 and up will happen on occasion, though.
No, it's happened maybe once, twice.
Once or twice.
Yeah, something like that.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah, St. Patrick's. That's definitely 21 and up.
Yes.
Kind of had to.
Yeah.
One of our rules of transmigration is don't break the law.
Yeah. Zoe, you have an interesting story about the military. Would you like to share it?
Sure. Well, a couple years ago, when I was still in the closet, I felt I had to prove myself or something, prove myself as a man, I guess. So I had to go out and do the manliest thing ever, so I joined the United States Marine Corps, and truth be told, my entire stay in it was all of a couple of weeks once I actually got to boot camp. But it all started with me walking into the recruiter's office and saying, hey, I want to join up. And he asked me all these questions about, like, had I ever seen a therapist? Have I ever had any ailments or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I have. And he's like, you bring that up to the processing center, I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head, and tell them that, and they will tell you to get out, because that is not allowed in the Marine Corps. You have to be like the perfect human being, essentially. It's the hardest branch to get into. But anyway, he said, you can do 2 things. You can leave now, or you can lie. And if you lie, you stick to your guns. Make it past boot camp, you'll be fine. I lied. That's what my recruiter said. He lied to get in too, for different reasons, obviously. But so for about my year of trying to get into boot camp, I'd always going to these various government agencies and having to lie about my past, because when I was growing up, my parents stuck me in therapists all the time to fix me, I guess. And it never really worked, obviously, because you can't fix that sort of thing. But what my recruiter didn't tell me about was when you get to boot camp, those first few days, they do this thing called the moment of truth, which after making you stay up for about 36 to 48 hours straight doing processing with maybe like a 1 5-hour nap in there, you're completely sleep deprived and you're starving. So they bring you into this room with this government official who uses scare tactics about fraudulent enlistment and how it's a federal crime, and if you get caught, blah, blah, blah. So I spilled the beans. I told him about the therapist and everything else, but I didn't tell him the details until later on. They pulled me into a therapist's office just to see if I was mentally stable enough for it. And I told him about, being a cross-dresser. I didn't say anything about wanting to transition. I just said the cross-dressing part. And he's like, well, if it was pretty much anything else, I would have waived you. But for that, you're gone. I'll try to be on your side to the extent of putting it down as medical leave or medical discharge. But that didn't happen. It was fraudulent enlistment. And somehow I think that word got out about it, because pretty much for the rest of my stay there for the next couple weeks was people asking me if I was some sort of a faggot, and my nickname was the Freak. So there was that. So I was probably on base. Grand total of about 3 weeks, and most of that was taking place in a second barracks for people who are processing out and going out and working at various places on the base for free. I was there for almost a month, like I said, didn't get paid, and was treated very poorly.
Wow. And even though that happened before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, here's one thing that a lot of people don't understand about that, is that Don't Ask, Don't Tell doesn't apply to trans individuals. It applies to gay and lesbian individuals and bisexuals. It doesn't apply to anyone with gender identity stuff at all.
Whenever I was going through all this, when I was processing to get to boot camp, they actually put you into an office and made you sign a form saying that you weren't homosexual.
Right.
And then whenever I was leaving, the phone call that my recruiter gave to my parents was, he said, your son's a faggot and he got caught sucking cock. That's why he's getting discharged.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing that he would lie about that,
Yeah.
I mean, not even
that guy
like,
was a scumbag.
I mean, not even lie about like saying, oh, he broke his foot or something. No, he went off to say something that was completely not true, that was harmful and hurtful.
Yeah.
Banning homosexuality in the military was just stupid. And I'm glad Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone, because, it was just ridiculous. Like, it just became a witch hunt. And someone who cross-dresses shouldn't be banned from the military, because all that has to do with clothing. I can almost understand it to the transgender, actual people who are transitioning, are going through transition, because it becomes this, you can't live without your hormones. You can't live without your testosterone. I don't know. You would go, if I skip a shot, I get a little emotional. If I take too much, I get hyped up and I start running around in circles. I mean, not that that makes me crazy. It just...
Right. There's a certain medical aspect about that specific thing that makes sense somewhat.
And I can understand that to a degree. After someone's already started transitioning.
Yeah.
Maybe pre-transition, it should be a different story.
Yeah.
But, that's what happened to you is just wrong. It's
Right.
it's
It's awful.
ridiculous.
I think that just transgenderism in general should be allowed, personally. I mean, yeah, if you're already starting your physical transition, I can see why they would keep you out, but if you're just, like you said, if you're just still at the beginning stages where you're questioning and you're dressing up and whatnot, that shouldn't keep you from it. That shouldn't keep you from it at all.
It's kind of funny you talk about the military. I come from a long line of Navy men. Yes. My cousin is about to be on the submarine, and he's like one of these guys who can do calculus in his head or something. He never
He can
studied.
do calculus in his head.
He never studied for his calculus homework, and he got straight A's, from my understanding.
That guy is ridiculously smart.
Yeah, well, it runs in the family. It's just different ways.
Yeah, different kinds of geniuses.
And my dad was the first person not to go into the military, and he became a rabbi. But my grandfather was in the Navy, my uncle was in the Navy, my cousin was in the Navy. So when I started moving out on my own, before I came out, my aunt kept pressuring me to join the Navy. And initially, I wouldn't join because I had already identified myself as a lesbian, or so I thought. So, and I didn't feel comfortable, don't ask, don't tell, because I just got analyzed. So many people already knew. I didn't want to have to re-lie, you know? So I said, no. And then it's funny, I start transitioning, and then she calls me when don't ask, don't tell happens. And she's like, are you going to join the military now? And it's just like... And she's totally forgetting the part about how I'm hypoglycemic and need a candy bar when my energy get low. I really can't be a Navy officer or an Army officer at all, but I just think it's so funny that some people don't actually see the difference between being transgendered and homosexual, especially my aunt being a perfect example. Especially my aunt being a perfectly good example of that. She didn't seem to understand that I've started transitioning. You know, I'm not a girl going into the military. I'm a guy, and it just wouldn't work. It's just funny. People don't always understand the difference.
All right. And what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's coming out to their parents as transgender? Because it's like so different than just saying, oh, I like boys, or oh, I like girls. It's like I identify as another gender than what my assigned birth is.
And I mean, a lot of people, especially young trans adults, can forget that their parents are transitioning with them. When they accept it, they have to go through the transition too. They have to change their way of thought. Of all these years I've been raising a daughter, now I'm raising a son. All these years I've been raising a son, and now I've got a daughter. And it can really trip them up too. So I always advise some certain level of understanding when it comes to that. Coming out in general can be difficult no matter what. My closet has a revolving door. First I came out as a lesbian. Then I came out as being a trans man. And then I came out as just being openly sexual to all people whatsoever, pansexual. Coming out can never be easy with a parent. You gotta take it slow. And it also depends on the situation with the parents. I have seen some really awesome moms come in with their 15-year-old kids. We had one of those not too long ago, who, even though she seemed to be the same age as my aunt and very conservative looking, she brought her now identified as son to our group and talked about it and wanted to know things and was open-minded. And sometimes I think some of those kids take it for granted. I see it in their eyes, like they're still fighting with their mom over little things. It's just like they don't understand that their mom's actually trying. I've seen a lot of moms, and I'm a perfectly good example of that. I just got kicked out. Like, I don't want you around. You're messed up. And that happens to a lot of people. There's no real advice you could give other than if you're going to do it, do it.
Mike.
There's no real advice that you can give that will work for for sure. You can't give it for sure, but it's something everyone has to do at some point, because living a lie just makes it a whole lot worse.
Right.
I would say that as hard as it is to wait until you move out. Come out to them then. I made the mistake of coming out to them while I was still living with my parents when I was about 17. And I spent the next 2 weeks in the mental institute. My mom called me a freak and practically wouldn't talk to me for the next few years that I was still living in the same house as them. And they said, why couldn't you have just been gay? Why do you have to be trans? That's way too different. But they still let me live there. They just said, if you're going to dress up and whatnot, do it on your own time. If we ever see it, we will kick you out on the street. So
I think a lot of it might have to do with like knowing your parents, maybe.
Yeah, it does. It does. You have to really know your parents, and sometimes your relationship can be great and open, and I've seen it. But especially if you have like really religious parents, like I did, it can be very difficult. And yeah, it does have a lot to do with knowing your parents and just knowing, you know, okay, well, they're religious and they might not like it, but they still love me, so they're going to let me stay and they'll let me do it. They just might not like it, or, you know, oh, no, they're going to kick me out. And there's actually a high percentage of, you know, if you're transgendered, you have a 50-50 chance of living on the streets. Like, 1 out of every 2 transgendered young adults lives on the streets.
I've come pretty close to it myself.
I have, and I know a few that I spend every other week. I think I have a new trans person calling me or talking to me, or someone who's only questioning or just queer. They're trying to find a place to stay. They're couch surfing. The Promise House is full.
What is the Promise House?
The Promise House is, as far as I know, in Dallas, is the only young adult or teen homeless shelter. Or sometimes they work in transitional housing, but I think you have to be older than 18. But they seem to always be full whenever I call, which is scary because they're the only ones. There's a place in Sherman, and sometimes you get lucky, and Sherman will help even get you there. And that one is definitely trans-friendly. From what I've heard about Promise House, though, they're not very queer-friendly. They're working on it, from what I hear, but you can only control young adults so well.
Right.
And it's sad, and it's hard to do. I've had several people stay on my couch for a few nights, and sometimes I can help them out, and sometimes I can't, and it's really, really sad. I think the last 2 I had were 17 and 18, and they were together. Both of them transitioning, too.
I remember them.
Yeah,
That was when we came over for the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were great. I mean, I don't even want to say kids because they were so mature. I mean.
They were,
they were.
Yeah.
To me, everyone's a kid, I guess. Like, if I,
Right.
I mean, I know.
Sean's like everybody's dad. He's Papa Bear or something like that.
Yeah, there you go, Papa Bear. I like that because I am kind of a bearish type of person.
Yeah.
Oh.
A little hairy.
Just a little. Yeah. I mean, even if you're older than me, like if you are a member of Transmigration, you know, I might slip up and call you a kid, but I don't mean it like insultingly. I'm just like, you're one of my kids that I'm taking care of. You know, I'm trying to help.
Very
you.
nurturing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Papa Bear. Totally a Papa Bear. I like that.
That might be your new nickname.
Papa Bear.
Yes, I'm considering it right now.
Oh no. And it's sad to see, though. I mean, it is really sad to see, though, all the kids that do not have a place to go, are couch surfing, or living out of their car. You know, I have a friend who I knew when she was like 14, 15, and I knew her when she was like 14 or 15, and I met her at U First Texas, and she was actually scared to put on a bra and let her mom catch her wearing a bra. And it was funny that now she's transitioning, but her parents did not accept it. And last I saw her, she was living out of her car, and she's all of 17 going on 18. And there's nothing you can really do because, I mean, myself, I work a slightly over minimum wage job and support myself, go to school, and I don't even have a car. And I'm paying for transitioning.
it's not an easy life at
No,
this
it's
age.
not.
No.
If it wasn't for my wonderful girlfriend, I would be on the streets. I know I would. I don't have enough income from my job. I don't have the experience to get something that would pay decently enough for my own place. So I have to rely on others, and I'm getting into my mid-20s, so
Yeah.
it's incredibly hard on.
I just realized we're
Oh,
both
that's-
on the opposite ends of transitioning, and we're exactly 4 days apart in birthdays. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we are.
it's really funny. We're practically we're practically same generation.
What do you
Yeah,
mean by
you're-
opposite ends
you're
of
like-
transition?
Well, I'm female
Like,
to male.
yeah.
I'm female to male, and she is male to female. So I mean,
Oh, okay. For a second, when you said opposite ends of transition, I thought you meant like she was just starting. You've been in it for years.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of that.
and you know, I just kind of jumped into my transition. Like, I mean, I heard about it, and I was like, oh, that's me. Bam. Transitioned, shaved off all my hair. Did the whole trans man buzz cut, as I like to call it, because every trans man does at least one buzz cut, at least once. It's usually the
Yeah,
first.
and all trans women, including myself, have bought that one outfit that was just so awful.
Oh, I have plenty of them.
Yeah, it's like we might
still
think
wear
it
'em,
looked
too.
good, and then it looked awful.
I'll still wear those awful outfits. I
Uh,
don't care. I like 'em.
You have the body. You can pull it off.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I didn't have anything like that was looking skimpy or anything, but I had bought this one dress that I thought, okay, this might work. It's pink and green, maybe.
pink and green.
Yeah, and then I looked at it, I was like, when I actually put it on, I was like, because it was really cheap. I was like, oh my God, it's so cheap.
Well, that's why.
Then I actually put it on, I was like, oh my God, I look like a woman who was in some sort of polygamous sect that is seeing the outside world for the first time. It was that huge. I didn't think it was that big to begin with, but when I untied it, I was like, oh, this is bigger than I thought.
Well, I was going to say that those colors can work, but now when
Pink
you
and green,
describe
no.
when you
They
describe
did
it
it.
like that,
I mean, you have to
It was
have it
only
on
a
the
few
right.
dollars, and I think there was a reason. There was only a few
Yeah,
dollars
probably.
looking back on it.
You have to have it. You have to have the colors balanced out, and you also have to have the right skin tone and hair color, and that's the queer side of me coming out. Sorry.
This show was called Different.
Right.
It was named
Right.
after the word queer.
Oh.
The word
Yeah.
queer means different, and so I was like, if I make any title for this show that might be cute or funny, I might get sued by a gay bar somewhere.
Oh,
So I was
God.
like, I'm gonna have to come up with something bland. The word queer. Oh, the word queer means different. Oh, different. There we go.
Well, we all know that I'm nowhere about tripping tipping over on toes around people, or I'll just say what's on my mind. I'll just say
That's
it.
good.
I
Yeah,
say
I don't have a
offensive
filter.
things.
I love
Yeah,
blunt
filters.
honesty.
Yes, definitely. It's better to be honest than to be PG-13, or even to be PG. Yeah, I'm not even PG-13. What am I saying?
no.
No, you're not. I mean, you're doing really well right now. I'm thinking, wow,
I haven't
he's
dropped the
being
F
so calm and mild, and everyone else was like worried about like language and whatnot. I was like, this is internet radio. You can say
Fuck,
whatever.
Shit, asshole. Need to get it out. Cock.
Wow. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah. So where is the Resource Center of Dallas?
Resource Center of Dallas is right off Cedar Springs on Reagan. Oh, God, what is the exact address? It's on the corner of Reagan and...
I don't know.
What is that one street? I'm losing it. I forgot the street name.
Oh,
Congress.
Yeah, Congress. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Corner of Reagan and Congress. It looks like a church. Honestly, it looks like it used to be a church building, minus the cross.
Minus the steeple and minus the cross, but yeah, I do understand what you're saying because it's like it's somewhat small enough that it's not a big office building, but it's big enough where you look at it, that's nobody's home,
Yeah, it looks
and it
like
does have a parking lot that is free.
Yes,
which is always
it
nice
a
in
free
Dallas.
parking lot. Just be careful not to park behind the gate because
Oh right,
We
at
do
nighttime you have to move your car because they do close the gate.
we stay past closing time. Technically, I
Right.
close up the building at the end of the night.
Like
So
sometimes what I do if I show up early, like I'll park in that parking lot, and then because sometimes the parking lot that's not by the gate is like full, and then
Yeah.
later at night they're like, oh, we're about to close the gate. I'm like, oh yeah, I still have my car out there, and then I'll move it.
right, so yeah, and we all have to go through the back door because technically we meet after hours, which is fine. I mean, when you're this age,
Close my.
when you're this age, you 8:30 to 10:30 is not that late to you.
Yeah. We're a bunch of night owls. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, night owls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're in your early 20s,
Yeah.
it's typical that you're not in bed before midnight.
Right. Because, you have college or you have a job or you have college and a job. And, yeah, it's nice to have somewhere to go at night to socialize.
Yes. Not think about stuff. Yes.
So tell us about some of the events that y'all have done in the past.
Oh, well, there's book club for one. We also have Dave and Buster's. We go there occasionally. Just run around and play games.
Yeah, it's always fun.
We've gone to dinner a few times, especially Cafe Brazil. Everybody seems to really like that place.
Yeah, because it's very queer friendly. Like the one in on the strip on Cedar Springs, because they have a gender neutral bathrooms.
And we do what we like to call
So nice.
We always line up the table, and we kind of do what we like to call the Jesus table, because it's really long, and everybody's sitting around it. Or growing up, I would have called it the Passover table, but they named it the Jesus table, so I have to accept that. It's not too kosher, but whatever. We're about to have a big pool party, July 28th. Oh my God, I think I said July 20th. It's the last Saturday.
You want me to look up on Facebook?
I would love you to.
Okay, I am going to look that. I have my phone right there.
I'm
going to change the camera angle real quickly. There you go.
When I do dates, I totally forget these things. But it's going to be at my place, and it's got like 3 little pools, and we're going to be grilling, and there's going to be music, and we're going to do a swimsuit contest open to all genders, and a cannonball contest, and I'm going to have little prizes. But mostly it's just a bunch of trans people in bathing suits going, woo!
Saturday, oh man, I accidentally clicked something. Okay, here we go. Saturday, July 28th at 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it ends at 3 officially, because there's no alcohol allowed until after 3 o'clock, basically.
Damn it.
Yes, because that's when the official Transmigration event ends.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
I love your facial expression right now, Zoe. It's just so hilarious.
We can have fun without having alcohol. Or at least that's what I'm supposed to say.
I guess.
I don't know. Zoe, what would you think our funnest event has been for you?
I really liked Anime Night.
Yeah.
Anime Night was a huge hit. We've had some pretty fun movie nights, too. I don't know. I wouldn't say I really have an actual favorite, because I just liked getting out and socializing. I don't really care what we do.
And I think our biggest, I think the night where things get the loudest is when we plan to do nothing at all, which is our open, basically our open door night. Our last time, our health talk got canceled because my guest speaker canceled on me.
Right.
So I was like, well, we could watch this DVD about healthy eating, or we can just do whatever. And everybody's like, whatever. So
it was bullshit. A unanimous vote among 20 people, was it?
Almost
or was
20.
it 18?
I'm just going to say 20.
Yeah, it was nearly 20 people.
The room was full.
I mean, there were people like me that's been there for a while, and then there's other people that's their first time, and it was just unanimous that everyone just wanted to talk and do whatever. And
there was a lot of talking and chatting, and that's like, I think people have the most fun when we're just like, we plan to do nothing, and there's like just a lot of like randomness. Also, that's one of the reasons why going out to dinner, those nights that we go out to dinner together, it's a good event because everybody just sits around the table and starts talking.
Yeah.
It's just chit chat. You get to socialize, which is the whole point of the group,
Right.
But yeah, anime is definitely a big hit because.
Oh yeah, lots of anime nerds.
Like what was that one show where every time the kid got wet?
Ranma.
Yeah,
Ranma
he would turn into a girl when he got wet. Then he would dry off and he would be a guy. And then when his dad or uncle or something got wet, he turned into a panda.
Okay, so this is how it goes. The boy, he turns into a girl whenever he's hit with cold water, and then turns back into a guy when he's hit with hot water. And his dad turns into a panda with the same stuff.
It's really funny though because he hates it.
It's a comedy. It's really hilarious, and it kind of revolves around martial arts to an extent, but it takes it to really weird, goofy levels. Like there's ballet martial arts and tea party martial arts, just really weird things,
It's
but
like-
it's hilarious.
It's like
A
the
tea
gender
party
bending of
martial
anime.
art.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have every
Go
single
on.
season if you want to see it.
What is tea party martial arts?
Okay, so how do you even describe that?
Are they drinking tea?
Yes, no, it's like traditional
just-
Japanese tea party where you can't like show that you're moving, but you're actually doing some form of fighting, and it's really weird and hilarious.
You can't show that you're moving, but you're doing some form of fighting. Are you not like, I don't know anything about Japanese tea parties, but you're not like supposed to move at tea parties?
I would think you would
Guess.
have to move to drink the tea.
I mean, this makes sense to me.
I guess it's like a very disciplined
The show does
way
not
of
make
move.
sense. It does not make sense at all. It's just it's
all the good shows don't make any sense. I mean, Futurama, Family Guy, South Park.
right.
I mean, I know. I'm the guy who wants to go see that teddy bear movie.
Oh, I want to see that teddy bear movie too.
I heard
with
it.
Mark Wahlberg or
Right.
how do you pronounce his last name?
I don't know.
Mark
Wahlberg?
Wahlberg.
Wahlberg. There we go. Mark Wahlberg. It's so interesting where he's gone with his career. He started out as a rapper, okay, and then he was a action star, like in the Bourne Supremacy movies, and then he started doing comedies as recently as The Other Guys with Will Ferrell, and now I feel like he's almost ready to do a family-friendly film. Because he's.
I mean, this one's kind of borderline.
It's not. It's this. Ted isn't like a
Not from what
family
I've heard.
friend. It's not family friendly per se, but it plays off of a family idea. And his character is very childlike, and his teddy bear is childlike, but not a kids movie by any.
I feel like it's for the young adults who want to like flash back to their childhood and
Yeah.
laugh about how they kind of still do kind of their childhood stuff even though they're adults. Like, I was sick yesterday. Like, I was stomach virus or something, and all I really did was hold on to my Yoda doll and lie on the couch and watch not cartoons but Grey's Anatomy. Because somehow
I would
watching
not have
people-
thought that you would watch Grey's Anatomy.
Why-
I would
with a
have.
stomach virus,
I
right?
thought you would have watched like Star Wars while puking your guts out.
I would, but I actually don't own very many of the DVDs, believe it or not, because I'm poor. I don't have
Star
ones.
Wars.
It's on my wish list though. I
We're
have
dropping by Walmart
I have, like-
afterwards.
I have like 2 or 3. I have 2 and 3, and that's it. No, I'll watch sci-fi usually. I don't know why, but something made
Mike.
me feel better. Something made me feel better about watching other people's guts get spilled out instead of my own. So yeah, I was watching Grey's Anatomy, holding a Yoda doll, lying on my couch.
Was it a talking Yoda doll?
No, I don't have one of those. I actually, the Yoda doll I have is like a teddy bear size, like for a kid, and it was a gift last year for my birthday from my ex-roommate. So, ironically enough, I'm a big nerd when it comes to Star Wars and Doctor Who. Basically, those are the 2 go-tos for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoe, do you have a Yoda doll or anything you hold on to when you get sick?
No.
I mean,
I hold on to the toilet rim when I get sick.
I mean, like, is there anything you do that, you used to do when you were a kid and you still do when you're a grown-up and you just kind of look back and kind of laugh, like, oh, wow, I'm still doing this, and I'm, like, 24.
Still play video games. I mean, aside from that,
Oh, you know what I do a lot? I like
I don't
to imagine that I'm a superhero a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I daydream thinking about being a superhero.
What was it?
Except not with tights, but with MC Hammer pants. That's always been my childhood dream.
Now I want to do the dance.
Stop.
Um,
No.
Can't touch
No,
this.
can't touch this.
No, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just this,
Like-
emotional type. I
I
guess
know
I'm
it's really
like an
fun to
emotional
just
type
lean
person.
back and not
Right,
here.
I forget.
And then you have to go up
It's
here.
like, hello.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess I'm just an emotional type person because I'm a Cancer and I'm big into the astrology thing. So I like to blame my emotionalness on my birth sign.
Blame It on the Booze just started playing in my head thanks to you.
Blame it on the booze.
Blame it on the
You
booze.
mean
got you
alcohol?
feeling blues. Blame it on the
Alcohol, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
now
that's-
you're just blaming it on the astrology.
Okay.
Zoe, you're looking at us with a very blank face.
I'm lost.
Oh.
Astrology's a load of crap.
And everybody's allowed to have their own opinion.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like, I mean, most Jewish people would tell me the same thing, and yeah.
What's your background? Again, Jewish, German, Russian. what-
Okay, Jewish, German. Well, okay, when I say Jewish German, I mean Germans that were Jewish that got kicked out of Germany or nearly killed out of Germany, and then Jews that were Russian that nearly got kicked out of Russia for the same reason. They both came to this country, but also have Scottish, Irish.
So basically, you're white. When I see white people that like name off like 5 different ethnicities, I'm like, so you're white?
Well, technically,
Very white.
technically Jews aren't white.
Right.
I mean,
technically, you're white.
I mean, no, Jewish people aren't white. Technically, they're Hebrew, and that race got evaporated after the Germans killed most
Race
of them,
and
but-
religion are 2 different things, in
Well,
my
exactly,
opinion.
but the Jews were
Right.
initially Hebrew. Weren't actually most Jews were actually Hebrew and weren't actually white. And initially, like
Okay.
it used to be a mark you could check Hebrew, but now after the Holocaust happened, it didn't exist anymore. No longer was a check. It was just you just checked white most of the time. Most of the time, not always the case. Most of the time. Because there are plenty of black Jewish people that I've met, or I'm sorry, African American Jewish people, right?
I think there is a difference between black and African American.
There's Americans,
yeah.
and then there's people that came from Jamaica,
Right.
or
Jamaica? I don't think that's part
Any
of that's
other-
not in Africa.
well,
It's
no,
an
but
island.
they're mostly there's black people in Jamaica. They're not
Right.
African Americans. They're
Right.
from Jamaica.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what I'm just trying to go with the PC, right? Like I don't want to offend
I
anyone.
don't know. We need to get Mark Hardy in here again.
Right? He'll tell us what the proper language is.
I don't really think there's a problem with saying somebody's black at this point.
But I mean,
Right.
yeah. I mean, okay, so my sister and all my brothers and sisters and my stepmom, they're all half Hispanic, also half German Jew, or Polish Jew, something like that. And so my sister runs around calling herself the Mexican Jew. Perfectly fine with it. I mean, in my
That's
house,
fun to say.
in my house, I think race was never really an issue. It was more like a pun that we would constantly joke about. Like, I was cracker. Because
Oh,
I was
that's
the
fun.
one white
I
kid.
don't even think my parents know what cracker means.
I didn't really know what
It means
mean-
white people.
I
It
didn't.
means white.
I didn't know what it meant
Very
until
white.
I was much older, and I didn't care when I was much older. Grandpa Beaner,
Oh my god. Grandpa, what?
Grandpa Beaner. Forget that he didn't actually come from Mexico; that it was his grandparents, but nonetheless, he was.
Let's try to offend every single people
I'm just saying,
out there.
When I grew up, it was never an issue. So when I started becoming like it was never an issue to even talk about it. Like it was always a pun or a joke, and nobody in the family was ever actually racist, except for maybe my dad, which I didn't really realize until I was much older. But it wasn't a thing. We didn't even think about it as being offensive until I got much older and I went out into the real world and I saw, oh, these are things I shouldn't say because they're offensive. I didn't realize that. I'm Captain Offensive, apparently.
I grew up in rural East Texas, so, racism was just a thing that you grew up around over there.
Which is pretty
I'm not
normal.
racist myself, but I've certainly seen it and been around it my whole life. So
And I haven't really been bluntly exposed to it until I actually got out into the real world. That's the one thing I can say about my ultra-religious family. It was never about race because, not really. I mean, they would joke about it, but I mean, everyone in the family had some variation, therefore a pawn of their race. I mean, my stepmother was Hispanic. I didn't really know what Hispanic meant until I was much older. Like, my sister, she has tan skin and looks like a Hispanic woman. Like, maybe she could have come from Mexico. But
maybe she did.
she didn't. She's my sister.
You don't know.
I was there when she was born.
Positive about that?
Yes. Yes.
Pretty young when she was born. That could be a misconstrued memory.
I remember
saying.
telling
Switch
my
the bird.
stepmother that she was fat because she was pregnant. So, I mean, and I'm pretty sure the birth certificate says she's American, but nonetheless,
American.
American. I love being a Texan Jew because I can get away with saying, I ain't got time for this mishigosh.
I'm sure all of the Jewish fans of my show got that joke. What does that joke mean?
Oh, if you know what ain't means, I hope you do because you're from Texas.
Ain't nothing but a word that's incorrect grammar, y'all.
Shit's in the
now
dictionary. It works.
It works in the dictionary now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's in the
Awesome.
dic-
Go
and
Texans.
Mishigosh is Yiddish for bullshit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I ain't got time for this mishigash. I can say Yiddish words at work and not get in trouble for cussing. It's awesome.
So you're using like Southern slang with what is it, Hebrew
Well,
cuss words, or is it Yiddish cuss words?
Yiddish is really just like from my understanding, is a kind of like a slang language, because Hebrew doesn't actually have slang, and it's kind of like a mix of Hebrew, German, and English all like tossed into one that was created, and from my understanding, Brooklyn. From my understanding,
That does make sense.
I
Yeah.
mean, most people.
Brooklyn's very diverse. Yeah.
In Brooklyn, there's a whole lot of Yiddish being spoken. I have relatives there, and I only like know a little bit of Yiddish, and I have that heritage too. But so I mean, it's fun to be able to get. It's every single cuss word you could possibly think of in Hebrew is actually Yiddish, like, because Hebrew doesn't actually have any bad words at all.
Wait, repeat that.
The Hebrew language, doesn't actually have any bad words, so to speak.
No cuss words, no
cuss
curse words,
no cuss words,
no bad words,
No
no
bad
words I
words.
get slapped for saying,
no.
no words I get fines for.
I mean,
Well, I
it
don't
would have
actually
to be
get
an
fines because of the internet radio.
It'd have to be an entire sentence. Like, I mean, I don't, like, there's, like, bitch. There's no word for bitch. Like, or, you could call them a whore, I guess, but that, technically wouldn't, it doesn't really
Bitch
exist.
isn't technically a bad word, though.
Exactly.
Oh, right,
like,
because it's a female dog.
Yeah,
What, bitch or whore?
Bitch.
bitch.
Really? I think bitch is a bad word. I got in trouble for saying it. when I
Well,
was a
bitch
kid.
is a bad word, but
It-
the
it
word
was-
bitch actually originated from the fact that female dogs were called bitches. And
I thought it was a
So,
pregnant female dog, right?
the-
yeah,
the-
I think it might be a pregnant female dog.
the
I forgot
real-
like which one it was.
No, it's just strictly a female dog. Period.
Look,
So whenever you're
What's
calling
a
somebody,
male dog called though?
I'm the kid who got put in the corner at a daycare for
mongrel?
saying jerk.
I don't know.
I don't know, like maybe a witch. I'm gonna start calling male dogs witches.
I don't
Mitches.
know. I think I'm.
Witches.
I think I know several witches that would actually be personally offended by that.
Oh, Wiccans.
No,
Wiccans, witches,
witchcraft
paganism.
and Wiccan is
Two
totally different.
They can be
different
kind of
things.
two different things.
They're
they tend to have
misconstrued
similarities.
Yeah.
with each other.
I was like,
guess.
when you said witches, I was wondering, like, did you mean Wiccan? Or
Some Wiccans will call themselves witches. Some pagans will call themselves witches. But and there's many variations therefore upon. Just like some Catholics would call themselves Christians, but most Catholics wouldn't call themselves Christians. And there are many variations therefore upon.
interesting.
That's my little scapegoat. Whenever there's uncertainty, many variations therefore upon. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I know there would be people that would be offended by that.
Yeah.
But I like how we're talking about the history of bad words. Like, I know the history of the word fuck and why that's considered a bad word.
Ooh, go on.
Okay, so the
This is
word
internet radio.
the
No FCC. Go
The-
on.
But plenty of FUCK.
the word fuck actually comes from a book that was written, and it was referring to the rape of nuns. And there was no word for rape of nuns, but basically it was talking about how when other countries would conquer other Christian countries, that would be one of the first things they would do. And it wanted to be very particular to say rape of nuns without saying rape of nuns, because it's not appropriate to say that, or it's not thinkable. So they would use the word fuck, and that's how the word got invented. That's why it's such a bad word, because it talks about the rape of nuns. Fuck is rape of nuns initially.
Wow.
Like, this is like ancient English.
I love my
From the
show. I'm so
days-
educational. I learned so much.
Dave Shakespeare time. I learned that, oddly enough, from my father.
Dave Shakespeare, what?
Like, I'm talking about like around Shakespeare's
Oh, around Shakespeare's time. Okay, for a second I
Yeah.
thought you meant an actual day. I was like, what?
The initial
Okay.
word, the
Yeah.
initial meaning, and then of course it grew to mean a lot more. You should look up this video YouTube, the word fuck. It'll tell you all the uses of fuck and how you can use the word fuck. Fuckity fuck fuck. All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I finally dropped the F-bomb.
Yeah,
About
like
damn
you
time.
you
God.
did it
I'm
like
talking-
5 times at once. Yeah,
I stopped for so long, it just had to burst out at
just
once.
had to.
I've never been one for keeping an eye on my language, but for some reason it just hadn't happened today.
Yeah, I think we're about done here today, folks.
right.
When we say
Awesome.
fuck like 5 times in a row,
That's when we're
that's
done.
when we're done.
Awesomeness.
Awesome. And here we go. We're going out on the song that we started with. Is it playing? Oh, nope.
We want to play.
It's not. That's right. I turned it all the way down.
You are a love so true. I wanna hold my kisses and give them all to you. We look different and we laugh different and we love different than you. You might say to find another, but we'll say we've got each other. Each other is enough to make it through. I love our late night laughter. You are the only one who takes me out for pancakes and leaves my heart undone. You have this way about you. I just can't help but smile. Don't tell me all your secrets. Let's sit and talk it while. We look different and we laugh different and we love different than you. You might say to find another, but we'll say we've got each other. Each other is enough to make it through. We look different and we laugh different and we love different than you. You might say to find another, but we'll say we've got each other. Each other is